Well, again, looking back at the U.S., who's concerned? Well, everybody's concerned, from health and science to government to the advocacy groups to consumers. And we have some new players. Our trial lawyers have gotten involved, again, with the tobacco model in the background. Wall Street analysts, and by the way, some of the best analytical reports have come out of Britain and in terms of the obesogenic risk to companies in terms of their product portfolio. Economists, insurance, employers, even the entertainment industries involved. And I think the statement, people need to realize in the current environment, in order to maintain a healthy weight, you have to act not only personally, but politically. And we have a changing paradigm. This is President Obama's appointment for our USDA, United States Department of Agriculture Secretary. That is the department that, again, historically has been in charge of ensuring the profitability of the farms and the ranchers, essentially very much the upstream part of the food industry. He started his remarks and the press release that announced and all of the work that was done around the promotion of this. He started out with combating childhood obesity and enhancing health and wellness. This is a significant shift in Washington, D.C. And that is where I'm from, so we hear it on an ongoing basis. There's been a significant change in the nature of the argument. Marketing is now considered as an ill health risk factor for the profile of foods. The discussion has moved well beyond scientific facts. Basically, science is being used to support one position or another position. Precautionary principle, I mentioned. Negative shifts in consumer opinion about the role of advertisers, marketers, the food industry, and anyone involved essentially on that side of the house. And company reputations have been improved by responsible change. I can kind of give you some examples of the companies when we're informally over lunch or in the afternoon, and there's been a real push again for global action. These are just some of our issues on the agenda, issues being debated, and other issues on the radar in the United States, all related again to the food and health picture. And the global hot buttons are exactly the same in this area without going through them. They relate to energy-dense, nutrient-poor foods, or at least the way that it's being played out. You'll see some of these, I'm sure, which comprise some of the Irish media stories as well. I mentioned addiction as the growing storm. And law, the role of lawyers. I know that came up again in earlier presentations, but this is the kind of the concept of what the lawyer does is to say, no comment, I'm not going to engage. Well, unfortunately, this is the way it's playing out in terms of the obesity dialogue in the United States. And if you look at various approaches, France, the UK, the US, Asia Pacific have different approaches when it comes to regulation, responsibility, education, legislation, but they're all addressing it. Well, what's ahead in marketing and advertising? Focus is on the kids, as I said, and we basically have a number of things that are coming in the marketing area. The scientific techniques used to market, in other words, the so-called backdoor marketing is under attack. Proliferation of the nutrient profile modeling to say, well, it's okay to market the good foods, the ones that have the green light, but it may not be as positive when it comes to the red and the yellow food. There's a shift in philosophy from targeting to appealing to children as a negative. Focus on special populations, since the most vulnerable for obesity are the lower socioeconomic segments. New recognition of branding and brand recognition. Even if McDonald's puts up an ad, for example, talking about you need a break today and shows the working mother, whatever, that's seen as a subliminal form, which it is, of marketing and advertising, which is not deemed to be responsible today. And then clearly the whole value of self-regulation and whether that will work. We do have a children's food and beverage advertising initiative in place. And there's a lot of watching and waiting to see if that's going to be successful. I know there's also one in the UK. And then the legislative and regulatory Again, the global food safety, I'm not going to spend time on this morning, but they're very much there across the board. The one that I do think warrants mentioning, however, to stay ahead of the curve is the whole water issue, both water quality and quantity. And I know, given this is the Emerald Isle and you get plenty of water compared to other parts of the world, it's probably not as much of a threat, but it is a significant issue, as I say, globally. And again, some of the many food safety priorities. Well, I mentioned the new sheriff in town. I'm going to focus on what's going on in the States because, again, we have been exporting a good deal of this to other countries. We were the fattest nation. We were ahead of the curve. We are rapidly being essentially outpaced now by other parts of the world. In fact, when it comes to the rise in obesity rates in the States, our kids' obesity is actually leveling off somewhat. Not totally, but somewhat. So we have emphasis on the consumer right to know, and that's everything from cloned foods to menu board labeling in our fast food and our restaurants. Battle for the label itself around profiling. We are rapidly approaching in the States what will be called a nutrition standard, or a series of sort of elements that will go into a nutrition standard. And that will impact everything from our school environment, basically, to marketing and advertising. Implications are regulatory, they're industry, they're all the way down. Even somewhere along the line, could it be rationing? I mean, we've opened up the door on food safety restrictions to say that products can or cannot come into the country or cannot be marketed. Is there any chance that we would take action like that? Probably not, but it's there. Nutrition science, nutritional industrial complex is under attack. Reality today, the activists are unified, the industry's fractionalized, the political uncertainty is real, and science is under siege. We've had a landscape upheaval. We're forcing environmental change because there's the perception that education doesn't work. We don't know how to change behavior, individual behavior. So we have to make it more possible for the healthy choice to be the right choice, the easy choice. We're leveraging our community and state actions up. It's not just top down. Some of the most activist legislation around this whole complex of issues, health, food, safety, all of the above, are coming now on local jurisdictions, like I mentioned, Los Angeles. Justified by the healthcare costs, $147 billion is a pretty compelling justification. Reinforce the comparisons of the food industry and the tobacco industry, and then use behavioral economics to force change. That's the disincentives and the incentives. And one of President Obama's top advisors is one of the leading advocates of what we call the behavioral economics. He's the author of a book called Nudge. So you saw this picture earlier in relation to another change, but basically the administration is the driver. There is a new playbook, and the playbook is actually putting prevention on the agenda for the U.S. That's not something we've always done well with treatment. It's been a biomedical model. We're looking actually at prevention for the first time. People like our Department of Health and Human Services, Kathleen Sebelius, said treating obesity costs twice as much as treating cancer in the U.S. right now. This is essentially the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. This is the former health commissioner of New York City who put in the ban trans fats, who also put in the menu board labeling. He now heads CDC. This is going to be a very potent organization to watch in the future. Our Institute of Medicine is such. And then our new thought leaders are essentially those that are framing the debate, and they come far more from the activist side. They are far more skilled at using the social media. They are far more skilled in engaging the hearts and minds and the emotions right now of the public, and they have the attention of the policymakers. And I know individualized action is important, so I just want to point in the future that we have nutrigenomics. Personalized medicine has sort of become a popular term. Will we have personalized nutrition? We probably will over time. It's probably not going to happen for about 30 years, given the way the genomic research is sort of moving at this juncture. And then I think finally I'm going to end with this, whether it be food and health. We know that there are always those time bombs that have exploded. They have to be managed. They have to be addressed. But the secret is how proactive is any industry in anticipating which time bombs are coming and which time bombs are ticking, because that's where you can make the most positive difference. Thank you, and look forward to your questions.